Hello and welcome back to the Nerd National Communication Center. I'm Mike, and it is Saturday, September 5th, 2020, and it is time for the Nerd News. On this edition of the Nerd News, both Nvidia and Intel have big announcements, one bigger than the other. And it was 25 years ago, not 20 years like Sergeant Pepper said, that something happened. There have been a lot of articles on the web this week about Nvidia announcing its RTX 3000 series, the 3070, the 3080, and the 3090 GPUs. The benchmarks are not really out yet. There's some stuff by Nvidia, and this is probably the key picture. So the 3070, which is supposed to be about $500, is supposedly a better performer than the currently $1,200 for the 2080 Ti. So the used price of the older video cards, I think, is going to plummet. And in the upcoming weeks, we're going to get some serious benchmarks on these new video cards. Big announcement by Nvidia. Big jump in performance, it looks like. I'll let you read this. Now, the other big announcement this week is Intel has launched its 11th generation Tiger Lake CPUs, and they're claiming lots of big things. Plus, they're doing some different branding, so you can see we got some different cover art right now for the i7 and the Core i7 5 and 7s. Look at that beautiful new artwork. Isn't that amazing? Now, one thing I got to say about this is Mark Twain said there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I would say there's lies, damn lies, and benchmarks. And both AMD and Intel do this. They pull their benchmarks very carefully to show that their CPUs are superior. Now, it does look like the 11th generation is going to have quite a bit higher graphics performance for the built-in graphics, and it's going to have a boost on AI, whatever that means, certain instructions that help with processing AI, neural network type stuff. And they're saying it can be up to 24% higher performance versus the previous generation. Time will tell as we start getting a lot of benchmarks out. But one thing to remember is these are what they were talking about a lot is lower power CPUs, 7 watts, 28 watts. That's not desktop stuff yet. Okay, this is laptop stuff. And you can see here's some figures on 12 to 28 watts. And here is some figures on the 7 to 15 watts. So it is a nice announcement, and competition is good. That Intel has been pushed back on its heels somewhat by AMD is forcing them to respond. But until Intel gets to 7 nanometers, gets changed from the 10 nanometer processes they're using now and gets down to 7 nanometers, I think they're going to be at a performance and power disadvantage. I ran across this article over at Mac Rumors talking about a 12-inch MacBook that is going to be using Apple Silicon. In other words, the ARM processors, using a variant of the A14 CPU they have now. And I believe if you read the details of the article, they were talking about this processor having 8 high-performance cores and 4 energy-efficient cores. Here we go, 8 high-performance cores and 4 energy-efficient cores. Now, the interesting thing about this is you remember where Apple said they were going with the Macs, that they would run iOS apps. So if this has a touch screen and you can use this as a two-in-one, in other words, do you have to use the keyboard? Is it a non-touch screen like Macintoshes are now? I don't know. But to me, if I could get a device that did both iOS as a touchscreen and a Mac, that would kill two birds with one stone, and I would be extremely interested in doing that. But you can check this out over at Mac Rumors. Next article that caught my eyes was over at Ars Technica, and once again it's talking about one of my favorite companies. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see the air quotes I'm doing right now. One of my favorite companies, AT&T, and there are rumors that they're looking to sell DirecTV again. Now they bought it for $49 billion in 2015, and as a DirecTV customer, I can tell you it's been straight downhill since then. DirecTV went from being one of the best customer support, most straightforward companies, the way they treated you, to becoming an AT&T company. If you look down here in this last paragraph, they went from 25 million subscribers and they're now down to 18 million subscribers, and that's just since mid 2018. And that's in all their cable TV. That's DirecTV and Uverse and all this stuff. And they're just not doing a good job. And I'm getting ready. I have a vacation rental property that I need to have some cable TV in, and I've just got DirecTV, and they want to charge me 90 bucks a month for basic cable. Well, guess what? I'm going to be ditching DirecTV as soon as the rental season is over, which is this weekend, Labor Day weekend, and I will probably be changing to a satellite TV service called Orbi, which has no contracts and is about $40 a month. It's half the price, and I can just suspend it for no cost in the off season because I only need cable TV there for about 3 months out of the year in the summer when the house gets rented. So I'd like to feel sorrier for AT&T, but it's just hard because they're just not doing a good job, and it shows in the number of subscribers they have. The next article I ran across is actually from Facebook, and it's a letter that Facebook is writing to its, for lack of a better word, advertisers, lamenting the changes that Apple is about to make in its iOS operating system that is going to lock down tracking you quite a bit. Every time something, an app or whatever wants to track you, there's going to be a pop-up and you get to decide whether you want to have that information given out or not. And that's going to really hurt Facebook. So you can read the details, the gory details here, and the gnashing of the teeth that Facebook is having over this. The next article I want to talk about is also over at Ars Technica, talking about how, guess what? The cost of the Space Launch System is going to be going up again. The SLS, which uses space shuttle derived propulsion, it uses basically a slightly simplified version of the space shuttle main engine and 5-segment solid rocket launchers for a heavy lift vehicle, has been delayed and delayed and delayed, and the cost is super high. And they say that they're almost going to be able to hold the current schedule they have, sort of, except, by the way, the cost is going to go up more. So I think the cheapest heavy lift launch system we're going to have is going to be the Starship that SpaceX is working on, and why NASA is continuing to work on the SLS instead of just buying cargo on the Falcon Heavy or the Starship or whoever else comes up with a heavy lift vehicle, because there are some other players working on this. But NASA should probably get out of the business of developing and building its own boosters. I'll let you read all the details over at Ars Technica. Next article I ran into was over at BuzzFeed, and Zuckerberg, head of Facebook CEO, said that Apple has a stranglehold on your iPhone. Now, if this isn't the pot calling the kettle black, that the monopoly companies out there, the big, huge tech companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, are all starting to bite at each other. Just read it. It's an enjoyable read. That's all I gotta say. Ran into this article over at the Correspondent, and it kind of calls blockchain for what it is. Now, blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin. And there have been all kinds of blockchain projects, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But simply, it's how I felt pretty much all along. The blockchain is a solution in search of a problem. I'll let you read it. It's a very interesting read, and it kind of sums up how I feel about it. And my last article for this week's tech news is Windows 95 turned 25 years old. Now, Windows 95 was a watershed operating system. That's when Microsoft completely dumped IBM and went out on its own. It was no longer going to be writing the next generation operating system, OS 2, with IBM, but it was completely on its own. And they had a big coming out party for Windows 95. I think they even hired the Rolling Stones and used Start Me Up. But it brought all these things to our user interface that we're so used to today. The start menu, the taskbar. It was extremely innovative. And it's 25 years old, if you can believe it. I tracked down some of the Microsoft 95 launch footage on YouTube, and I'll link that as well. But that is the news for this week on the Nerd News. And I thank you very much for watching. And if you like this, please like and subscribe. Take care.